My name is Leonie van Drooge, as pronounced in Dutch. I work at the Rathenau Institute, which is an institute funded by the Dutch Ministry of Science and Education. Our goal is to deal with science policy, to inform, to advise, to discuss and debate the issue, and we are more or less independent, so we don't deal with prescribed projects by the government. I would like to give a few anecdotal examples of discussions I had with researchers, and then in the end I will identify a problem and come up with the solution immediately. I will start, I will deliberately I've included examples from all types of science, and the first is our research into nanotechnology and the evident benefits that will be here within 10 years. As we all know, nanoscience is really important, and within 10 years the world will be different due to. So we thought, let's do a case study with nano researchers, and they will tell us everything about how they interact with the Nokias and the other big companies dealing with or using nanotechnology. So we went to the University of Eindhoven and started talking with them, and the researchers had no idea whatsoever what we were talking about. Social impact, or the Dutch word we're using for it, valorization, was unknown to them. They did not collaborate with any company whatsoever. They did collaborate with people from other departments, the other department in the physics department on the other side of the building. They also collaborated with their colleagues at the research labs of Philips, you know, the big company. And we said, so that is a company? No, they said that's our colleagues, and colleagues that happen to work in a private company. If you look at the research they're doing, and if you look at how the research they're doing end up in my or your mobile phone, you see that there's a huge chain where lots and lots of researchers, research departments, spin-off companies, research departments in private companies, commercial departments are all part of it. So it's a very, very long route. Don't think that it's obvious for the researcher in nanoscience who is the audience or what is the value or the impact. In the case of the ICT, we talked with researchers who said, well, our research has an impact, and it is used in scanning, medical scanning. When you make a scan, you got so much information, and it takes so much time to analyze the scan, and our work is included in it, so now a doctor can see in like half an hour what the issue is, whereas before you had to go lots and lots and lots and lots of slices of the body. So he said, you should go to the medical department, they know who we are. At the medical department, no one knew the ICT researchers, so there was really like a detective. We searched for all the people and the departments, ending up in the basement of the hospital where there was this ICT researcher working in the medical department, knowing how to translate the research from the ICT department to the medical department. So there were lots of change involved. A new colleague of mine did her PhD in search strategies for unemployed people. And she had no clue whatsoever who was the potential user of her research. She found out that when you're unemployed and you're looking for a new job, you tend to focus on the positive aspects of the job and of the company, and you tend to ignore the negative aspects. Low wage, too far away, too many hours. You tend to focus on all the positive aspects. For her, it was difficult to find an audience because, in principle, if you just look at the Netherlands, about half of the population of the Netherlands is the possible audience. All people between, say, 18 and 65 who are either unemployed or employed and might have might have to find another job. So that was too unfocused. And when she started talking with me about these issues, she said, I should have talked more with my roommate, which she probably has done, but not so much on the research she was doing. Because she said my roommate was involved in a project with the employment office of the city of Amsterdam, and she was doing projects helping people to better their search strategy. But one way or another, it was never stimulated, not by her colleague, not by the professor, to transfer the knowledge from the one to the other so it could be used in practice. The social psychologist working at the Agricultural University of Wageningen said, what we did in the end was projects with other researchers, and we ended up testing our knowledge with farmers and cows. There were certain diseases transmitted from one cow to the other. You can look at that from a medical, veterinary point of view, but you can also look at the behavior of the farmer in how the farmer deals with the cow and with sick cows and healthy cows. That proved to be major insights in what happened and how the farmer helped transferring that disease. The other people from the same discipline, psychology, all said it's obvious. When you work at an agricultural university, it's obvious you end up working with farmers and cows. It's not that obvious, you have to go there and you have to realize it. Two short examples from Humanities. A friend of mine works as an archaeologist. He does an excavation at the small island of Zakynthos. It's a Greek island. And he's got contact with the mayor of the island at the moment. There's lots of tourism at the island. Before it used to be Russians who would come there and drink for 2 weeks straight. Unfortunately, they've got a new type of tourist now. It's the Bulgarians and the Romanians who do the same but are even worse. And the mayor decided that he wants to do something about the tourism and that he tries to upgrade it. It involves dealing, of course, with the hotels and with the horeca, but also he realized that there's this interesting feature on this island, this excavation, and that it could be part of the promotion of the tourism. So they're now talking together. My friend wants to talk with the mayor because he has set his eyes on a different part of the island where he wants to do an excavation as well, and he knows that there might be some difficulties in getting access to it. So he thinks he wants to be friends with the mayor. When I talked with him about his efforts his efforts with trying to put Zakynthos on the map as an archaeological tourist island, and I asked him, is this value of research? He said no, because there's no money involved. Only if there's direct money involved, he would perceive that as something valuable. This was just something in the sideline of his research. And the final example, and that's the similar one to the one in the medieval, the golden century music in Spain. Peter Wispelwey, a famous Dutch cello player, has recorded a new CD with Bach's cello suites. It's the third time he's recorded it. But this time he's done something really different. He has tuned the A string to 392 Hertz, which is different from what people usually do when they play early music. It's tuned to 415, I think. He's done that because he's had in-depth conversations with 2 university professors from Britain, professors in musicology who know a lot about Bach. And the very nice thing is that with the CD box there is a DVD, and you see on the DVD the discussion that took place between the 3 of them. And you see how they discuss for what type of instrument are what we know now the cello suites originally composed. Is it a cello or not? How did those instruments sound? In what way did people dance in those days? So how should you play the music in a way that it fits the dancing? Until the part that he shows the professors how difficult it is to play certain parts with the fingers, and they sit down and think with him how he can play that particular part. I think that all has to do with public value, with transferring the knowledge to a potential audience. But the question, of course, is what is public value? It's not recognized by the researchers from the previous cases. I think there is a duty here for the philosophers around to discuss that issue of what is public value, or as we would call it in the Netherlands, what is valorization? That's the word we use for it, because everybody who uses the word valorization in the Netherlands has a known definition, think and comes up with different solutions, different measurements, different policies. It doesn't help. So I think here's a task for the philosophers to help clarify that debate. Talking about researchers, for them, whatever it means, it's a policy issue. It has nothing to do with them or their research practice. So we can talk about this issue with each other. We don't help the scientists with it because lots of them still think it's something from them that we need to do. The question is, who is the audience? Is there an evident audience? When I talk about the examples I just gave, people from other disciplines always say, oh yeah, that's easy. Of course, 392, the Bach example, the philosopher said to me, not you, but a different one, yeah, that's obvious. But it's not obvious if you're a professor at Oxford University that you engage with cello player Peter Wispelwey. So it's a question that should be asked or discussed with scientists. Who is the audience? Who can be the audience? And is there one evident audience, or is one cello player good enough? Is public value about world peace and happiness, or as we talked yesterday, the example of cancer research? I do cancer research, so I solved that. It's not. I really think that we should focus it down to what contribution do you make to the bigger issue, and to, or another question, what type of practice can you change, do you want to change, or are you aiming to change? It's about raising awareness with scientists, among scientists. As long as we keep talking amongst ourselves here, we don't help the scientists. In a SIAMPI project, we noticed that discussing the issue of creating social impact of productive interactions, it raised the awareness of the scientists that there was such a thing as an own responsibility, as going into interactions, and it helped them identify what social impact could be. So I think the issue is that there is a gap between policy and practice, and then I think policy and scholars gathered here are part of that policy maybe, and the practice. And I think it's our responsibility, and I'm doing amateur philosophy here, but to go down the cave and engage with the researchers. So I really think the example I didn't know before of the of your website, where you present the examples, is something that can really help stimulate the debate. Every time I talk about this issue, people ask me, what is a good example? Please tell me so I know what I can think about. Thank you.